Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a speed build in The Sims 4. In this build, I tried to make a cute, cozy cottage, but not really use anything outside of the base game or the cottage living packs. And ever since I got cottage living, I've been really loving it. Like, I really dig the cozy vibe of just the slow life and raising your farm animals and all of that comes with it. Not to mention, the town, Henford on Bagley, has a really close-knit community that just seems to kind of bond really well, and I think that's really cute that The Sims has that. So here you can see I'm adding some roofs, and I go and use Shift C to alter the shape of the roof even further, trying to give them a nice little fantasy style here. And I'm really glad with how the roofs turned out. Sometimes roofing it can really make or break a build, and at times it has been really difficult for me to get that right. But I'm really proud of how my last few builds have turned out, and that includes this one. Another thing I really love is that with this pack, you have so many new like roof window options. As you can see, I added some there, and I tried to make the roof toupees, that's what they call them, those little angled triangle pieces I was just playing with. Tried to make those fit, but they didn't want to work on this roof. Maybe it was the slope of it, but normally they work pretty well. And I was thinking actually originally about adding a little roof right there over the deck where the door is, but I later decided against it, and I was like, no, I don't think that'll work too well here, especially since we already have the very overhanging roof from the main building. And I really like to focus on landscaping when I'm building in The Sims. I don't know if that's something that everyone loves or if some people prefer interiors, but exteriors for me are just a lot of fun. I also like decorating the inside, but I wanted to keep this house empty so that people could decorate it however they like. And this is on my gallery page at Gemsthetic. That is my gallery ID for EA. So you can go search me up on there and find this build for download. So I was having a hard time finding the perfect wall for the outside here, but I've gotten more comfortable recently with mixing different types of walls, which worked really good here. As you can see, I have the stone at the front, and then I kind of have the wood paneling on the sides and the back. And I added some columns here, but then they were too tall at some points on the roof slope, so I had to remove some of them. So there's only a few around the stone area. And I've been really loving the new windows with cottage living because just look at that window. You have like the paneling on the sides and the new window box. I'm just really proud of how this build turned out, and I really like how I have improved in my builds only in a short period of time. Building can seem really intimidating at first because you look at builds on the gallery in The Sims and you see something like a large family home or a castle or a fancy restaurant, and you say to yourself, I could never make that, you know. I have no idea where to start. I don't know how they did it. It looks like this isn't even like the base game. It looks like they used some weird technique to make this, and it is true that modders, or not modders, builders do use mods to um, help create their builds sometimes. Um, but those mods still allow them to create builds that you can then download, even if you don't have the mod. So it just kind of helps with placement of terrain or platforms or paths or something, anything like that. I feel like another thing I normally shy away from is adding trees into my builds too much, because recently I've been working a lot on smaller lots because I feel like starter houses are just such a nice thing to have. Because if you're anything like me, you create a ton of new Sims or new buildings, and then you don't actually end up playing with them long term. So having nice starter houses is really good for probably not only me, but a lot of you guys out there who are like me and can't help but starting new saves and new Sims and all of that. Not to mention, it's less space to work with. I find that if I have too big of a space to my disposal, then it suddenly feels a lot harder to try and fill that space up with something that's meaningful or looks good without feeling like I'm wasting space or overcluttering or what have you. Trying to make it everything have sort of a purpose. So here I added some dirt, for example, with the terrain paint because there's a chicken coop in there, and chickens are messy, and they will probably be walking all over the grass and eating it all day. So maybe not eating it, but they will probably mess up the yard. So there's a little fenced-in area just for them. I really love what I did here with a couple of the base game bushes. And I kind of made this really nice alternating pattern that just looks so nice. And I think at this point I was really seeing everything come together in the build. And I was getting really excited because I could see the paths and the color scheme of the house and all of that just kind of working really nicely together. And so I was really happy about that. And then I added that mailbox down there. I tried looking for a barrel at this point to put in. But then I decided that a barrel probably wouldn't be a good idea. I really love the touch of just having the chicken on top of the gable over the door. I think that is really nice, and it kind of makes it personal to the build too, because it's a nice, not suburban, but kind of suburban area where the family, whoever would move in there, would be raising chickens, and so you really get the vibe that they are dealing with animals from that. So then I was like, I think I should add a picnic table area. because if Sims are working outside a lot, they would probably be hungry and maybe want to eat outside. Also, I do apologize if my commentating is not the best for this video. I have seen other YouTubers speed builds before, but this is my first one. So with that comes practice. And it is not easy to talk for an extended period of time, just commentating things without only talking about just what you're doing in that moment. I did have to adjust the plants here a bit and edited the path, and this was going to become a nice little garden area for Sims. I'm not sure if I placed those dirt patches too close, as you will see in a minute, but I feel like I think it'll be okay. That's the thing with the move objects cheat, that sometimes it can be a little confusing as to whether Sims will still be able to interact with certain things. But I think it'll be fine. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. Another thing, half walls. Half walls are so good for just adding little bits of detail to your interiors. So, like I said, I did try to keep this inside mostly empty except for like walls and a couple lights. So you will not see furnishings inside, but it is left to decorate to your disposal. And I believe the price of the lot is under 20K. Not too much money to work with, left over, but I think you could easily sell some things or get rid of some fencing to make some extra money. And yeah, I think that is about it for this build. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, nice cottage. I built it in Henford on Bagley, and there's plenty of space for you to garden or raise your chickens, or maybe if your sim has dogs and they want to run around in the yard, they could do that too. I just didn't add anything specific to cats and dogs to try to avoid having a lot of pets in the build. That way it was very friendly to those that don't have a lot of pets. But that is all. So I am so glad that you guys watched, and I will see you next time.